Alright guys, I'm gonna be doing a two-part video on dating. I've got two questions on dating in my Ask FM account, and I've been putting them off and putting them off, and basically because I wanted to come up with a good answer for you guys and make sure that I actually remembered what the answer was. Um, whenever I whenever I think back to like whenever I was younger, a lot of times I don't remember a lot of things. Um, Part of that is due to me blocking it from my memory, and then the other part is simply because I have a bad memory as it is. So part of it is because I've blocked it out mainly due to stress and how a lot of my childhood kind of was and how negative it was a lot of times. So I blocked it out because of that, but also because I have a bad memory and I simply don't remember a lot of things. But anyways, so the first question came in a few months ago, and again, I wanted to make sure I knew the answer before actually answering. So the question was asking me what the worst date I have ever been on. So if you've been following me a while, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in at least the earlier videos. So if you've been following me, you probably already know this. But if not, this might be a shocker. But in high school was the first time that I started dating, and the main reason was because there was a lot of pressure. High school, there's a lot of peer pressure and everything, and um, basically, I was not at terms with myself, and I didn't quite know what or who I was either. So I kind of knew that I was attracted to women, but I didn't really know for sure, nor was I really prepared for that. So I kind of just didn't date. And then my junior year, I actually dated a guy. It was weird. Basically, I've dated two guys. Let's put it that way. I've dated two guys. Both were whenever I was in high school, and I just nothing ever happened. I never let anything happen. We never kissed even, like nothing. It was basically just something to get everybody to shut up for the most part. The only person that actually was my boyfriend, the other one wasn't official. We were just kind of seeing each other. It's so weird to talk about, but the one that I actually did date, um, he he was something else. I'll just leave it at that. Um, but yeah, so my worst date probably would have been one of the ones with him. Uh, I remember, and again, I don't remember a lot of details, but I remember this one time he took me to Subway, and we went with his parent. Like his parents took us, and then on top of that, he used a coupon to like get a free sandwich and a free meal or something, like buy one get one, whatever. Okay, here's the thing. You don't do that whenever you're like not at that level. There's a certain level that's okay. Like whenever you've been dating for several years, and you know somebody can appreciate you wanting to save money. That's fine. But if you do that within like the first probably even 6 months, it tends to look bad, especially if the other person knows you're just being a cheapskate because you have the money to be able to. But yeah, so that was probably it. However, I do have to say probably the best date that I have ever been on was actually the other guy that I was seeing, which is so weird again. But he took me to the batting cages, and I love baseball, and so it was really awesome. I actually outbatted him. I don't think he was really okay with that. He was like a man's man, big cowboy, like huge, a lot taller than I am, and yeah. So I don't think he was too happy about that. But best date I've ever been on was actually with him, simply because we went to the batting cages. I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So this is so awkward. The other question was, sorry, I search my brain whenever I look to the side. It's usually because I'm trying to remember something. Um, the other question was asking me if I ever felt uncomfortable or afraid of liking women, or afraid of my first date with a woman. It was something like that. Here's the thing. I was raised in a very Christian conservative home. Um, I was pretty much taught from the moment I was little that being gay, being anything but heterosexual was a sin. Um, Even like outside of church, even outside of my family, like the school system, it has an abstinence only program where I grew up, and they really harp on no sex before marriage and um, no sex period, and it was a very homophobic atmosphere. So whenever I started noticing my attraction towards women, this was probably back in the third grade or so. It was something that I didn't take very lightly. I didn't know like how to respond to it. I didn't know how to act, simply because I'd never really been exposed to it. And there was kind of like this hysteria where if we saw somebody gay, we ran away, like that kind of thing. So that whole concept was new to me. And then once I got to like junior high, started noticing people that were diverse, and I want to say I knew one person that was a lesbian. I know for sure I knew one person that was bisexual. But again, like it was more like we looked down upon them because that's what I was taught. And then high school, um, I really had a lot of conflict, inner conflict. Um, at that time, I was in a leadership position at my church youth group, and I was having to lead Bible studies and all this, and so here I am, like having to um, preach this stuff that I wasn't really believing in, and touch on that, and it was very hard at that time. And then whenever I got my first girlfriend, that was my senior year in high school, and it moved very quickly. We ended up getting engaged, and she lived in Ohio, it was long distance. So I never had that first initial reaction in person until after I graduated high school. So from the moment we started dating, it was just strictly online and long distance until I moved after high school. So we had already been together probably 8 months or so, and we were already engaged. And so that aspect of it was a little bit different than a lot of people's would be. But there was definitely a lot of guilt and shame and inner conflict. And then once I did move after high school, I was totally immersed in the LGBT community, which was, I mean, coming from West Texas, it was very, very different. Again, like I say, it's very conservative. It's very my upbringing was very much naive, and so there was a lot of things that I wasn't exposed to. And so moving after high school and moving to Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio, and being involved in gay pride and all this, like 2 weeks after being there and living with two gay men and my girlfriend, I mean, it was definitely complete 360, and a complete 180. And so it was overwhelming, but at the same time, I got over a lot of my fears and a lot of my misconceptions very quickly because of that, because I was just so immersed in it immediately as soon as I moved. Um, but yeah, it was something that I was afraid in some ways, because I didn't know how people were going to react. I did not think that my parents would be okay with it. That was never something that I really ever thought, but a lot of people that I did think were my friends that I did think would be okay with it because they wanted me to be happy, they ended up not. And so that really sucked at that time. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question at least a little bit. If it doesn't, then tell me what I need to expand upon and I'll do my best. But yeah, so that's the Q&A part of this video, part 1 of dating. Look forward to part 2. It should be uploading shortly.